Hey folks, welcome to my channel. I just want to show you World of Tanks. I've been playing off and on for a couple months, and took me a while to get some of these tanks. I basically, you got to compete online, and it's actually pretty tough. And I've actually got show you some of my favorite tanks that I've actually collected, and just give you a little tour here. Right here is the M4 A3E8, known as the Easy 8, which was actually the final version of the Sherman during World War II. This is basically the late model with the long, high velocity 76mm cannon, 76.2, which is actually, it was the best for this model right here. It was a pretty good anti-tank weapon, but it still was ineffective against like the late model Tiger IIs at the end of the war. But it was the best chance we had because the early model Shermans only had a short barrel, low velocity 75mm. And here we go is the Pershing. This is actually our only heavy tank in World War II that the Americans came out with. But they came out so late in the war. They literally came out in only 20 made them in operational field in 1945, and there was actually a couple skirmishes where one went one-on-one with a Tiger but was knocked out. And I'm trying to remember the name of the battle. It was a famous church where they basically there's actually footage of it, combat footage, where the German Panther knocked out a Sherman that was in the column and actually killed the crew, and it's actually really brutal footage. You actually see the guy's like severed leg, and he actually died. It's really sad. It's actually one of the few combat footage of World War II where tank and tank engagement in black and white. Well, anyways, this guy was in the column, and it was, it took out the Panther, and it's actually the camera guy catches it all. And see, the Pershing here was designed to stop, it was supposed to fight the Tiger 1s and 2s. And right here, it's a high velocity 90mm cannon, which is pretty badass actually, compared to the 76 that we had. Pershing, I guess, basically didn't really have a chance to really shine because it came too late in the war, and the war was over within months when they finally arrived at the theater. Here's a Matilda. This is actually an interesting tank. This actually was the only tank. This tank actually ran throughout the entire war, even though it was obsolete by 43 standards. Basically, the British, it was basically one of the most heavily armored tanks at the beginning of the war, except for the fact was it was really slow. I'm talking slow, and the 2-pounder cannon right here basically couldn't penetrate anything. There's a Churchill, long velocity 76mm. It's the same as the basically, it's the same gun as that's in the late model Sherman. This is basically a heavy tank. It was kind of slow. Again, the British love riveting armor, so that was just one of the things. Leopard, it's just a little scout tank that I've been kind of fooling around with. Oh, this is my personal favorite tank in World War II right here. It's the German Panzer III, and I right here have the late model. This is an L model with the long-barreled 50mm cannon, or 5.0 centimeter L60 cannon. In fact, this actually was the best model of the Panzer III. The early models actually had the 37mm cannon, which the Germans actually dubbed the door knocker, basically because it, as you can see, it didn't penetrate anything. And to a point that there's a famous German general that actually said if their tanks were equipped with this long barrel 50mm at the beginning of the war, they would have won the war against Russia, because they were all equipped with a 37mm, and it was too late by the time the Russians started counterattacking. Basically, as you see, what happened was the Panzer III was eventually phased out from the floor because they couldn't fit the 75mm longer cannons. They couldn't fit on this turret, so this tank was eventually phased out. But early in the war, once it got the long barrel, it was pretty badass. This is my personal favorite tank. Let me go into the packages, because in this game you can actually get all the models, and I'll show you. This is the original model right here. As you can see here, look, there's the door knocker, 37mm. So there we go. They actually had a medium range, but this right here, the N was a short barreled version, which sucked. But their best model was this one right here. So next one right here, Panzer IVH. Love this tank right here. This is basically this is a late model version right here, late war version. This is basically what replaced the Panzer III because they could fit on the turret the right here, the long 75mm cannon, or the 7.5 centimeter in the German standard. This basically was the workhorse of Germany at the end of the war. Thousands of these bad boys were made. And like I said, this is one of my personal favorites. Tiger 1. This was right here. This was a badass right here. Even though it didn't have sloped armor, this bad boy came with the 88mm cannon, which was deadly in World War II. This is basically the tank killer weapon right here. The main reason why Germany basically lost the war was because of industry, and they didn't have an air force. Once their air force, the Luftwaffe, was destroyed, basically a lot of battles, our air force would win a lot of these battles because one-on-one in tanks, the Germans would have won, but we basically had air power and would bomb the crap out of them. And then right here, the Tiger II, the Royal Tiger, or known as the King Tiger. This was actually they consider one of the best tanks in World War II. But again, late in the war, Germany could only manufacture so much, and this thing was a gas guzzler, and Germany was losing the war, and they could not keep up the production, and the thing ran out of gas. It literally ran out of gas during the Battle of the Bulge, the last German counteroffensive to the west. All right, now go to the Russian side. Late model T-3485. This was basically late model. The original was a 76, which actually early in the war was the basically stopped the Nazis in their track. This tank, the tanks like this was the reason why the Germans developed the Tiger 1s and 2s to fight this, because the Panzer IIIs could not keep up with tanks like this. All right, and that's it. And right now I'm working on to get a M47, M48 patent tank by the Americans, but like I said, this game is really fun. It's very time consuming. Like I said, you can go to any nation, and like right here, this is what I'm working on right now, is to get because you can actually level them up and get the guns. I got the Pershing. Right now I want to get my favorite tank, one of my favorite American tanks is the M48 Patton, which was, extensively used in Vietnam. The M60 replaced it, but again, M48, if you see Vietnam, the M48 was really our main battle tank in Vietnam War. 90mm cannon. It's one of my favorite tanks of all time. Well, anyways, I hope you guys like my channel. Just like or subscribe, and thank you for watching.